All right, good afternoon, everybody. Greetings and welcome to Get Ready for Summer Research. This is part of the VCU Library's Advance Your Research series of online and in-person training. It's designed to help make your research process better, faster, and smarter. My name is John Glover, and I'm the Humanities Research Librarian here at VCU. I've been a librarian here for about a decade, a little bit more. And the content in here comes from years of working with students and faculty who have variously been thriving, succeeding, struggling, or in some cases even failing to be able to get research done during the summer. I hope to get you past roadblocks and help you to work more efficiently throughout the course of this upcoming season. Today you're going to get a range of tips, tricks, and solutions that should help make your summer more productive. My colleague, Julie Arndt, Science and Engineering Research Librarian, will be helping to run the webinar. She'll be sharing out URLs as we go along. Some of these will be links to resources that are shown on screen. Others will be supplementary information. All of this content will be available at a later time from our Advance Your Research page here on the library's website, including the links that we'll be sharing. You're going to encounter a number of themes popping up today in the webinar. First theme, Know Before You Go, is about being aware of challenges or stumbling blocks that can be unexpected slowdowns for you when you are working during the summer. Theme 2, Find Your Own Path, is all about finding what works for you. Last but not least, Early, Regularly, or On Time is all about ways to make sure that you keep rolling during the summer when the call of the beach or the barbecue is respectively trying to drag you away from that article or dissertation or book you're working on. Nothing here is prescriptive. As I've said many times to many people, the best thesis, dissertation, article, or book is the one that you finish. Along with these themes, you're going to notice certain kinds of content recurring. Tools to make your research easier. Most of this will be links to websites that I hope will be useful to you as you are doing your work. Resources to use your time more effectively. These will typically be in-depth learning options like books or video lessons. Processes, things that you can adopt or adapt to suit your needs that will help keep your action regular. And last but not least, time savers. Informational tidbits that can help you in your process. This gives you an idea of the sorts of topics that we are going to be covering today. Productivity basics that are helpful in the summer and otherwise, information about the campus during downtime in general, ways to maximize your library time, aspects of research travel that can be challenging or confusing, bits about conference preparation, and last but not least, what happens after graduation or when you're moving on from VCU to another job. So what does productive summer look like? For different people, it can look like different things. And sometimes what you really do need is a hammock or a lounging chair on the beach. It's a wonderful thing to be able to get away, and sometimes it's what you need. But for most of us, this is what a successful summer tends to look like. Computer in front of you, books or articles nearby. And so at this point, let's pause briefly and take a poll. I'm about to share something that you will see on your screen. So this poll is designed to determine whether you are writing according to a schedule. Whether you sort of do it as you feel it, you don't schedule your time, you occasionally schedule your time, or schedule it at set intervals. Please go ahead and select the option that suits best for you. 6 of 7. We're 85% people voted. We're almost there. One person out there is still thinking about it, and we will go ahead and close the polling in 3, 2, 1 now. And the results indicate that among people who are participating in this webinar, you out there sort of watching, people occasionally schedule some time for their research and writing. One person doesn't do any scheduling, and one person schedules their time weekly. All right. I myself have been at various points on this continuum at different times in my career as a researcher. So I'm going to close the poll now. Hopefully the little box should vanish from the middle of the screen. All right, there we go. So setting a schedule is something that some people out there don't enjoy doing all that much, but academics regularly are successful in their work by scheduling their research, writing, travel, conferences, and publications. All of these different things can be sequenced in ways in order to keep you moving effectively. There are various tools you can use to do that, from reminders on Google Calendars to apps specifically designed for it. In general, in this next little section, we're going to talk about ways to stay on task, setting goals, getting a writing buddy, a few specific tricks and hacks that might help you out, celebrating victories, and doing things the way that work best for you. So, in terms of goals, the research is very clear. There's a robust research literature on the topic, and it is very clear that setting goals is important for succeeding in your research and writing. These goals can look significantly different from person to person, and that's just fine. Breaking goals down into reasonable chunks is an effective way to do things. Something that you're trying to get done by the end of the day is going to look like a very different goal, of course, from what kind of goal you will set for yourself for the week or perhaps the year. Breaking things up that way, however, and being specific about setting down those goals across the board, whether you're writing, engaged in business work, whatever, all of these situations, having a set of staggered goals will help you achieve your long-term goals. Be ambitious, but be reasonable. For some people, it might be feasible to plan to finish 2 books over the course of this coming summer. For some of us, it might be more reasonable to say, I will complete my data collection over the course of the next 2 months. We are all at different places in the spectrum of productivity as researchers, and we all have a range of other demands on our time. Getting a writing buddy. Writing buddies can do many different things for you. Maybe this will be a fellow faculty member or student, but somebody you can check in with and talk to about your work. Did you do what you said you were going to do? Did you do it in the timely fashion you expected? Did you submit that journal article that you intended to submit? With your buddy, or perhaps independently, or at organized larger write-a-thons, you can get together for a set period of time and work together intensively in order to make sure that you are, dedicating a set period of time to writing, not trying to squeeze it in here or there. A writing buddy can also serve as a revision or critique partner for partially finished or draft work. There's no writing buddy like a buddy who will look at your ugly draft and help you get it to pretty. Alternatively, you may wish to consider a writing group. And writing groups can be organized in many different ways, whether they are there to help you through the entire process of writing a book, or in terms of looking at and providing micro-level feedback on an abstract of a paper. It can kind of depend on what you wish to do as a group. Tricks and hacks. There are many, many different techniques in order to make your research and writing more effective. One technique that's been around for some time, developed in the late 1980s by Francesco Cirillo, is the Pomodoro Technique. Many different sites out there online have information about this, or tools or apps to help you do it, But the core of it is working intensively for a set period of time, typically 25 minutes of working with a 5-minute break, along with making comments on notes on a sheet of paper to yourself indicating that you have finished a Pomodoro, and then physical effects of using a timer. Actually using one of those plastic tomato-shaped timers and twisting it is generally billed as a core part of the technique. You may use another timer that you find effective, but that has been shown to have a certain effect. Pomodoro, incidentally, is the Italian word for tomato, and thus the term. Another thing to do that you may find helpful, that again research has demonstrated is effective, is tracking your progress via a word counter of some kind. Whether this is an app or simply a spreadsheet that you fill yourself, the example you see on the right-hand side of your screen is a simple database that I used a couple years ago and have since repeated from year to year, generating a set of fields to indicate how many words I got in on a given day on an article project. As you can see, some days you don't get any words, other days you get many words. You can use a range of other productivity tools to limit internet access, compel you to write at a fixed rate, or things like that. Freedom, for example, is an app that shuts off access to commonly used internet websites that might distract you, perhaps social media or otherwise. I've also in past used Write or Die, a tool that is designed to force you to write at a consistent pace by deleting the words that you write if you wait too long while you are writing. So, different strokes for different folks. Now, let's move on. Beg your pardon, had a brief technical difficulty there. Let's move on to talking about positive reinforcement. All right, at the end of a project, when you finished it up, what might you want to do in order to celebrate? I personally have occasionally gone to an ice cream shop and gotten an ice cream sundae when I got to 50,000 words on a book-length project. In another instance, I made a point of going to go see a movie that I had long wanted to go to, but I hadn't had the opportunity, and I decided that would be a nice thing to do to celebrate. All right, let's take a poll. One moment, please. All right, thank you for your patience. This poll is about positive reinforcement, designed to help you, designed to sort of give you opportunity to weigh in on things you have found successful for yourself when getting to a stage where you wanted to reward yourself for having had success with your research and writing. All right, at this point, it looks like everybody has voted, so let's go ahead and see what we do as a group. It looks like many of us have gone out for a fancy meal in order to celebrate. Many of us have had treat ourselves to a nice night out, which, you know, that can be so freeing after a long day of work. Perhaps you've arranged for somebody to take care of your children or pets or what have you. Some of us have taken a full day off to go ahead and relax and celebrate. One of us started a new project. Somebody else, a couple people purchased books, computers, or other productivity tools. Two of us took some sort of spa, retreat, or self-care day. That's outstanding. And somebody else treated themselves to a nap or a good night's sleep. All right, very good. So hopefully this has given you some ideas about things you might consider employing as a reward for yourself after your next success. It's important for you to figure out a method of research and writing that works for you during the summer or otherwise. there's a whole genre of material about, there's a whole genre of book devoted to writing more effectively as an academic. It has subsets, for instance, writing as a graduate student, writing a dissertation or a thesis. And you'll note on the screen here that LB2369.B57 is a great place to go on the shelf here at Cabell. That'll be on the 3rd floor to find books about writing dissertations. Likewise, that PN 146.M877 on the 4th floor of Cabell Library will be about academic writing generally. These are just a couple sample titles I've shared here. The dissertation book from 1998, Writing Your Dissertation in 15 Minutes a Day, again, sort of advocates breaking things down to reasonable chunks. And Writing for Academic Journals here is a sample of one of many such articles that is all about how to write effectively and target your work towards particular journals. I should definitely mention that much of what I've talked about in the course of today's webinar, and what I will talk about, I've myself gotten or seen represented in Paul Sylvia's How to Write a Lot, a short, bare bones book about being effective as an academic writer. Finally, not everybody wants to read a book. Sometimes a short explainer video is what you need to do in order to get you moving in a given area. VCU has a subscription to Lynda.com, and you can go ahead and log in at the link that my colleague just shared, and you can look through the talks they have, everything from productivity to goal setting to mindfulness to many other topics. These are items that you can watch from your computer or mobile device and will help you, help you become productive and stay on task. Now, that said, campus in the summer. If you can't tell from the graphic right there, that is a tumbleweed rolling quickly across your screen. Time for one more poll. This poll is designed to figure out how often you have encountered delays on campus at VCU or otherwise during the summer while doing your research and writing. All right, everybody, it looks like everybody has responded at this point, so let's see. So it looks like some of us have not really encountered delays on campus during the summer. Some of us have occasionally. Some of us have frequently. Myself, being on campus at VCU during most summers, most of the time, I can say, depending on the year, sometimes everything's been smooth and easy to get done. Other times there are a million construction projects for exciting new developments at the university, which might take me a little bit of delay to get from a building to a building or something like that. So we'll talk more about this in just a second here. All right. So campus in the summer can mean delays or changes to a number of different things. This fits that know before you go theme. If you can't get to campus, it may be hard to work there. Transit schedules often tend to vary during the summer or during intersessions, perhaps over winter break, things like that. So buses or otherwise may come with greater or lesser, typically lesser frequency, or routes might change a little bit. Dining options also change. Depending on the establishment, sometimes campus dining places will close down or will operate on a much reduced schedule. This will actually also hold true for some academic areas around college campuses, even if they are not themselves officially affiliated with the university. Construction, it's worth saying, can also be something that has an impact. If you are coming into campus to meet up with your advisor, who has a very tight schedule and a short timeline, if you have a 20-minute delay on your bus, that can make a significant difference in terms of how how quickly you'll be able to meet up with your advisor. Likewise, closures. It happens sometimes that things close down during the summer. Buildings, offices, things like that. Universities often take the summer as an opportunity to make significant changes with the least impact possible to the university community. During the fall, there are 30-some thousand students walking around VCU, and that's a lot of people. During the summer, it's significantly fewer, so the impact will be less if a major service or office is closed. In terms of finding people during the summer, it's worth knowing, if you're looking for somebody who is a faculty member at a university, what is their contract? Are they a 12-month faculty member or 9-month faculty member? Either way, oftentimes the summer is when faculty are working on their scholarship, and sometimes service as well. So the things that the university has hired them to do, in addition to teaching, they may be occupied with those things and may be entirely away from campus or off email. Occasionally you'll get an email auto response saying not merely that somebody is out of the office, but they will be away for 1, 2, 3 or more months at a time and not responding. Likewise, it's worth knowing that many faculty at the university, at VCU and otherwise, teach on a per course basis, i.e. they are adjunct faculty. So somebody who has been around and has taught a class for you during the spring, for instance, may be teaching at another university the following semester. You cannot know for sure whether they will be around or not, so bear that in mind. I talked about leave and vacation already, but of course, faculty go and take vacations just like everybody else. It's worth, with all of that said, contacting your advisors, committee chairs, or mentors before the end of the spring. Oftentimes, as the year wears on, faculty may be busy grading, finishing up projects, or getting ready to do research overseas or go to a visiting appointment somewhere else in the course of the summer. During such a spring conversation, it's useful to discuss your communication expectations collectively between the 2 or more of you, as well as variations in each of your schedules. If you have a long-term relationship with your mentor or your thesis chair or dissertation advisor, you've been working together for many years, you may have a very solid sense of who is around when. But if this person is, for instance, just agreed to be your advisor, it might be good to confirm whether they will be around. Here you see a picture of Cabell Library. In the summer, things change here, as they often do at other academic libraries. Our hours, for instance, tend to become a little bit shorter, both for the library as a whole and specific units within the library in general. Items that you might want to check out, well, summer can be a blessing in the sense that there are fewer people using items, so things that you're looking for may be more available. But at the same time, if you know that you're going to be doing most of your work off in your cabin or at your parents' house on the other side of the Blue Ridge Mountains, and you're only going to be coming to VCU a couple times, you'll be spacing your checkouts a little bit more. So make sure you know about how long you can check things out and renewal policies. And be aware, of course, that you can, on the library's website, in the upper right-hand corner, click the My Account link, which will let you renew items on a per-item basis, as well as see what you have checked out in general. If you haven't spent much time on campus in the summer, you may not know it can be the best time to get research done because there are simply fewer people here. At times, the library, you can be walking around and you can have an easy choice of computers or chairs, whereas, as you know, sometimes during the height of the fall or spring semester, you might not even be able to get a computer very easily. Availability also extends to other kinds of equipment in the library and elsewhere. Down in the basement of Cabell Library, for instance, in the workshop, we have available both facilities that you can book, like audio recording studios, video recording studios, a gaming studio, a maker space with 3D printers, and so on and so forth, as well as things that you can check out, like telescopes, DSLR cameras, green screens, and so on and so forth, all of which are significantly more free and easy to check out during the summer than during the rest of the academic year. If you are traveling for research, it's worth planning ahead for a couple different things that might come up that can be helpful to you. The question of facility hours, which I mentioned earlier with regard to VCU libraries, applies to other universities as well. Depending on the nature of the university or college and its size, it may even close down during the summer or be open for only very select hours. Know before you go. If you are visiting an archive or a special library, or indeed another kind of research facility, there may be very stringent requirements on what you are allowed to bring with you. Take a look in advance at the website for things like lists of things you are allowed to bring in, whether there are lockers available, and questions like that. Often, for instance, you will be able to bring a computer or a mobile device with you, but you may not be able to bring in an ink pen or similar kinds of permanently marking devices if you are looking at rare objects in an archive. There may also be entrance requirements. Some institutions are open to anybody who walks in the door. Other times you must have your academic identification on you. Other times it may be useful to have a pass to get in. And typically you will find on most such institutions' websites, often under the About Us link, a description of what you need to do to be able to get into the library, archive, or lab in question. I would simply reiterate that access to resources can follow much the same rules. Here at VCU, when you come to one of our libraries, you can log in with your wireless, with your computer via the guest wireless and use a range of resources. In other situations, you may sometimes need special temporary kinds of login. Typically, their information desk, reference desk, or similar kind of service point will be able to help you out with answers to questions like that. Finally, it's worth saying that different cultures may obtain at different libraries or archives. I'm not merely talking about whether the staff at the library in question speak the same language as you or something like that, but what is the practice at a given library? Sometimes these are things that you will only find out as you are visiting. For instance, is it all right to walk around in the shelves of the library and browse yourself to look at items, or does somebody do that for you? Conference preparation is another thing that you may be doing during the summer. I'm going to give you a couple tips now about going to conferences if you are relatively new to them or are looking to improve your overall situation when going to conferences. First and most importantly, if you're presenting, make sure to bring a copy of your paper, poster, slides, or other necessary materials with you to the conference. It's useful to provide a backup to yourself if that is at all possible, whether it is something that you have stored on a cloud device, your Google Drive if you're at VCU, or Dropbox, or similar kinds of apps that will let you store things remotely. Perhaps also a paper copy somewhere in your bag. It's good to think ahead as you are working on your presentation about what sorts of questions you might get over the course of the conference, either right in your session or afterward. This can provide some ease to you if you are being asked something that you thought about in advance. Likewise, it's worth knowing that everybody is going to a conference at some point for the first time. So make sure that you are, when you are in a conference, not trying to read a mile a minute, that you're just, don't just stare at the paper, and do make sure if there is amplification available to you, that you use the microphone. This provides a significant benefit to everybody in the room, in particular people who may have hearing or auditory processing issues. Likewise, check the conference website or guide, if that is available to you, to take a look and see if there's information about the conference, general culture, codes of conduct, to say nothing of the programming. It's worth knowing what past attendees have felt about a conference too. These days, one of the easiest ways to do this, if you don't have somebody adjacent to you at work, is to go on to Twitter or other social media platforms and take a look for information about the conference. Very commonly, a conference, symposium, or other kind of academic gathering will have a previously agreed upon hashtag for the event, which you can use to search for content. It will not, of course, capture things that people post online that do not have the hashtag, but it's significantly better than nothing. And oftentimes, you will be able to find posts relatively easily about what you might want to do as a first-time presenter, participant, attendee at major national conferences, the American Historical Association, or what have you. Likewise, bring a checklist. You've seen in the chat on the side a number of different options that have come through in terms of things to look at to make sure you've got your act together before you take off. Inevitably, you'll always forget something, and you will develop your own checklist over time. Whoops, forgot socks again, that sort of thing. All right, what about when you're graduating or leaving your institution to go to a new job? This very often in the academic world happens during the summer. First off, return items that you have checked out. This might be the smallest and least of your concerns, or so you think, when you have a thesis to complete, an apartment to move out of, or things along those lines. But at many institutions, if you do not return your library books, you will be unable to graduate and will not receive a diploma. Use your electronic access. If there are things that you have been meaning to download, make sure you do it while you still have that access. VCU Libraries, on your behalf, acquires access to a wide range of journals and books in your area, and saving them in advance can be a great big help to you. You won't necessarily know when you're looking at every single publisher's website at every instance whether it's something that is free to you through another format or that VCU Libraries is paid for, but I guarantee you, when the time comes that you need something and you don't have access to it and your institution does not subscribe to the journal, you will know that. Which leads me to the next point, which is simply to make sure that you, think about what sort of research tools you might want to use or need if you are going to be going to a position that doesn't have access to research databases as part of it. Likewise, if you are going to an academic institution, getting your first job at another school or what have you, take a look and see if there's information on the library website about what sort of databases and journals are available. They may be ones that you've used before, they may not have been, but it can be very helpful when planning for your upcoming year, whether we're talking about research or teaching, to make sure that you have access to exactly the sorts of things that you need, or if you don't, to figure out how or if you will be able to get them. If you are leaving academia entirely, going to work in the private sector, retiring, or what have you, there are a number of ways that you can get access to research resources. And so you will see links on the screen right now. One of them is to a research guide here at the library about using VCU resources if you are not currently a person who is current student, staff, or faculty member at VCU, as well as advice about open access databases. There's also a research guide here about all things open access. That is to say, research resources that are available to all. Last but not least, a guide about how to use Google very effectively for your research, whether Google in general or Google Scholar. Finally, I'll say that slides and recording for today's webinar will be available at the link you see on your screen here. The schedule for future Advance Your Research sessions will be available at the go.vcu.edu/AYR link. For further details or questions, you're welcome to contact me, and I will endeavor to answer them and get back to you. Alternatively, Bettina Peacemaker is the head of academic outreach, the department responsible for Advance Your Research, and she welcomes your questions at her email address or phone number. Thank you all for attending and listening today. Do you have any questions that we can answer? And right off the bat, I see that there's a question about Amazon Audible membership for student access to audiobooks. To the best of my knowledge, we do not have access to Amazon's Audible. So unfortunately, we don't. We do have access to a range of streaming audio and media devices, audio and media platforms. You can find these by searching through the VCU Library's website. A couple, there are music databases and there are video databases. But as Julie just said, oftentimes the local public library has Overdrive, most commonly. It's a platform that you can use to get ebooks, audiobooks, and you can have them set up typically via your mobile device, or you can use them on a computer or what have you. There are Overdrive. If you're a resident of Richmond, you have access to Richmond Public Library, Henrico Public Library, Chesterfield County Public Library, and I believe one other.
Pamunkey or something is the name of the district?
Right, Pamunkey Regional Library, I believe. So the content there, it does not precisely match up with what Amazon's Audible has, but it has a very wide range of audiobooks, popular, scholarly, nonfiction. I mean, everything from David Foster Wallace to Harry Potter, to Morgan Llewellyn to Stephanie Meyer. Are there any other questions out there? Don't be shy. This is for you. Oh, I will also add, the company that provides Overdrive is also working on a related app that does similar things that is called Libby, L-I-B-B-Y. And so if you go to a library website and go looking for these things, you might see it listed as Overdrive, you might see it as listed as Libby. All right, folks. Oh, okay, what's a great source for acquiring various statistical information? There are many different ways to go about finding statistical resources. I'm going to actually show you on the VCU Library's website one place that you can go to find statistical information. Bear with me for just a moment while I load us up. All right, so there is on the library's website, there are a number of tools that can help you find what you're looking for more effectively. One, under research guides. Is under the data and statistics subject area. There are many different things here
different subsets of data and statistics that might be useful to you. If you are, for instance, looking at census data for the United States, there's that. However, the general data and statistics guide is probably a good place to start for you. Once you get in here, you'll see it broken down by topic area. There are some good general starting places here. For instance, Data USA, data.gov, ICPSR, a major source for social science data. I should also say that ProQuest Statistical Insight it will look in some ways closer than any of these to resources you may already have used, given its the interface is similar to that of other ProQuest databases. But there are topical resources here in demographics, education, health, economic and labor, public opinion, and scientific. And somebody else subscribes to the analysisfactor.com. All right, thank you for sharing. I haven't used that one, but I think that's useful to some of you out there. Are there other sorts of things we can help you find? I will also mention, for those of you, thank you, Julie, there's a librarian here who can help you out, and we, by and large, are here during the summer. Sometimes we are off at conferences or take vacation or what have you, but librarians at VCU are 12-month faculty, so we are generally around to answer questions for you. However, if you have a small question that you want answered and you don't know quite what to do, you can use our chat service. In the upper right-hand corner, you see this link right here. If you click it, it will open a chat window and you can talk to whoever is staffing it if you have a question about where a book is or whether the library is going to be offering a certain service or what have you. We can always help you out with that. You're very welcome, Simon. Thank you. And thank you to all of you who attended today. Are there any last questions? Going once. Going twice. And thank you all very much. All right. Have a great day and good luck with your research and writing this summer.